Do you think our system is capable of holding Trump accountable? And why is it so hard to find accountability for such a significant series of crimes?
I think it isn't that hard. I fought to indict a sitting president, Richard Nixon. I fought to indict a president who had just resigned. And there's no reason why a former president gets any special benefit when the evidence is clear. And I can hear Joyce in my ear saying, not literally, but just in my mind, I can hear her saying, we have to be careful that there might be something exculpatory we don't know. And that's true. We only know what's public, and what's public is very incriminating. It proves a crime. But there could be something we don't know. And the standard that the Department of Justice has is much different than what the committee has. The committee had to prove to the American public how they should vote, how they should think about this. But in a trial, you have proof beyond a reasonable doubt. You have rules of evidence. You can't use hearsay. So a lot of the testimony that was so compelling was hearsay. Cassidy Hutchinson saying, I was told by Ornato that this is what happened. That's hearsay. So that's not admissible in a court. So we have to keep that in mind. But yes, this is a case that calls for accountability. And if we're ever going to stop this from happening again, we need new laws, including, thankfully, the Electoral Count Act reform, but more.
All right. So I know I said this was going to be an all-skate question. It's not, because there are two really big questions I have to get to. But Joyce, your name was invoked on this particular question. What do you think about why is it so hard to hold Donald Trump accountable? And will he be held accountable?
So I think it's difficult because of the fear of becoming one of those countries where politics plays a role in the criminal justice system. We don't want to become a banana republic where former leaders are routinely indicted. But what Trump did is not routine. Insurrection isn't and can't ever become routine. And I think we've evolved now to the point where the criminal justice system is on the right track to hold Trump and those around him accountable. You know, Jonathan, something I think about increasingly is DOJ has done such a magnificent job of committing to prosecute virtually everyone who crossed into the Capitol on January 6th. They have prosecuted those people for relatively minor crimes up to the more serious ones. And now we're seeing the seditious conspiracy trials ongoing with some of the militias. We need that same sort of commitment at the upper levels of what occurred in obstructing the transfer of power in 2020. And everyone who was in the White House, who was around the former president, who was involved in obstructing the certification of the vote on January 6th, or in criminally perpetuating the big lie, all of those folks need to now be held accountable, just like the people who overran the Capitol.
Barbara, there's speculation Mark Meadows might be cooperating with the Justice Department. Who do you think are potential key cooperating witnesses and why? And, I mean, do you think that speculation about Mark Meadows is right? Is that what your gut's telling you?
Jonathan, it's hard to know. And certainly that's the kind of thing that the Justice Department will really want to keep under wraps, because they wouldn't want anything to happen to him to cause him to be intimidated or somebody to try to get to him and tamper with him. But it is a possibility, and he would be such an important witness. As we just said, his name comes up again and again in these witness transcripts. He was present for all these meetings. He was the gatekeeper at the White House. And so I think if Mark Meadows were to testify, it would be incredibly valuable for the Justice Department. But I don't know that they need it. Other potential cooperators, John Eastman, Jeffrey Clark at the Justice Department, either one of those could be very important. And remember, the Justice Department has tools that were unavailable to the January 6th committee. Search warrants, which they've used to get phones for some of those suspects. They can put people in the grand jury. They can immunize them. They can compel their testimony. And so it seems to me that the Justice Department is going to be able to do even more than the committee has already done.
Kimberly, I know you were nodding in agreement when Barbara was speaking. What do you think? Do you think Mark Meadows is a cooperating witness, or who else might be cooperating?
Yeah, I think it's it's really difficult to know because we have seen such fealty given by people inside Donald Trump's inner circle all the way to the end, all the way until they themselves face a potential criminal liability. So I'm not in Mark Meadows' head, and I can't say for certain how far this has gone. But what I will echo is an important point that my sisters made, is that the DOJ, it's not like the DOJ was waiting for January 6th to finish their work. They have been carrying on this investigation, first by Attorney General Merrick Garland and then by Special Counsel Jack Smith, really seamlessly and very thoroughly. They already asked the committee for testimony, for example, before the referrals even came out. So to think that they are not doing everything they can, crossing every T and dotting every I and working very carefully, knowing how sensitive this subject of this investigation is, I think that would be underestimating them. So whatever they're doing, they are following, I would think that they are on path. And I haven't always said that. I've been critical of the DOJ. So I think the evidence is clear that they are moving in a very, very careful, strategic way.